You know, one of the reasons why I walked away from the Bible is because one of the things that Christians love to do, and sometimes you non-Christians like to do it too, and that is that you make things that happen in the Bible into metaphors that were not metaphors, especially when we're discussing the Old Testament. True, your Jesus spoke in a lot of parables, but some things in some of those parables, some of those stories of Jesus are not parables. They are to be taken literally. So when I do a video concerning how the Noah's flood was a fake, how the Adam and Eve story is an impossibility, how the Samson and Delilah story is the story of an idiot, and most of the things that happen in that story are also an impossibility. Y'all like to run up the metaphor flag for some strange reason. Well, it's not a strange reason. It's because you want to hold on to this book and you want to find some wisdom in this book. And although you can find some wisdom in it, you want to suggest that these stories were not meant to be taken literally. But as you know, with me, I go back and I look at the politics and the culture of the day and what the people thought and what the people believed. What those writers in the 10th, ninth, on down to the 4th century, what they were writing concerning the stories of Genesis, of Adam and Eve and the flood, they meant them literally. They took them as literal stories. These were their stories of what actually happened according to what their beliefs were. Just because today you know that those stories are far-fetched and they are fairy tales, and you go through the mental gymnastics of saying that, oh, they were metaphors. The Adam and Eve story is not a metaphor for the atom, atom, which many of my non-Christians love to do. They love to say that it means the atom. The people of that day had no idea what an atom was. The people of that day could not have even conceived the idea of what an atom was. Not those writers, not in the 10th century, ninth century, 8th century. They had no idea what an atom was. Yet today, because you know the story is far-fetched that two human beings could have facilitated all human life on the planet. The fact that the earth is much older than your Genesis story. That now you want to try to go through some mental gymnastics and make it into something that we know of today. Hell, we just recently, and as far as history is concerned, the idea and the knowledge of an atom is really new. No one in the 19th century and the 17th and the 18th century knew what the hell an atom was. That is why that doctrine wasn't around. We only discovered the atom in the 20th century, I believe. So therefore, to say that it was written that way because God would one day let the people, we would one day grow and we would know what an atom was and be able to define the Genesis story so that we have a clear understanding. So this God is so stupid that he allowed for thousands of years to go by and people not know what the hell he was talking about. Is that really what you want me to accept? Is that really what you think a critically thinking person would accept? And to say that the Noah story is metaphoric. Those people literally believed that Noah's flood was a real flood because they believed the Gilgamesh flood was a real flood, but they wrote their own version of that story. There was a worldwide sea level rising about thousands of years before they wrote these stories, but those stories are around the world in any coastal civilization, and those civilizations have their own variation of each one of those stories. It is not something that is only with the Sumerians and with the Akkadians, but it is a story that people in Southwest Asia, people in the Americas also told to people in Australia and everywhere else who was living coastal and saw that their waters rose for about 400 feet. And so they all devised a story based on that event, but then they fictionalized the story, or I should say legendized the story. But it is not a metaphor. It is something they believed that actually happened. They believed that giants roamed the earth. It was something they believed, not metaphor. They believed that these people lived hundreds of years, centuries of life. They believed it. It's not a metaphor. It is not a lunar thing. It is not not even slightly a monthly thing. It is something they believed that actually happened. And they looked at other people's story. Well, the Arcadians got their kings list and got people reigning for 25,000 years, 26,000 years. We need to have people living 800 years and 900 years. It is copying a theme that people actually literally believe. So stop saying things are metaphor when you know that they believe them to be literal at the time that they wrote them. And if that's what they believe them to be, then that's what they are. And they are not a metaphor. So think critically, always. And always remember that you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.